Hello and welcome to the Brothers Random Show. My name is Travis.
I'm Michael.
And we are two ordinary brothers discussing extraordinary ideas and some random shit. So the topics on this show range from theology, masculinity, stories, movies, philosophy, books, pop culture, and many other subjects. We often talk about the people we admire, people such as Dr. Jordan B. Peterson, who we believe is the sage of our time. Michael, why are we here?
Today we are talking about Jeffrey Epstein. Going down the black hole of Jeffrey Epstein has kind of blown my mind. But let's get to where this started. We were big fans of Chris Williamson's show, Modern Wisdom, and he had Eric Weinstein on. And it's a fascinating 3-hour conversation. Tidbit of it, a little bit of it, Chris asks Eric about his interactions with Jeffrey Epstein.
Talk to me about what that's like, coming face to face with somebody of that caliber.
Whatever that means. Well, one thing is that there is a physiological reaction that corresponds to this phrase that, the hair on the back of my neck stood on end. Like, that's a real physiological feeling. I don't know whether the hair actually does that, but it's exactly what it feels like. You're meeting somebody who is unholy.
And it kind of blew my mind. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Now, I've heard a lot of stuff, Jeffrey Epstein here and there, his minor trafficking.
He got caught.
He got caught. Died in jail,
killed himself in jail, supposedly killed
himself, and
there's a ton of holes around that story,
shrouded in shadows.
Yes,
everywhere. Everything that has to do with Jeffrey Epstein is shrouded in shadows.
And there's a ton of
blows my mind.
Yeah, there's a ton of conspiracy theories, and then so you don't know what. So the one of the interesting things about their conversation, Brett and Chris,
Eric.
Sorry, Eric.
Yep, Brett's his brother. It's all good.
It's all good.
Brett is a fascinating guy too.
Yeah,
he's a biologist. Eric is the
mathematician. Yeah,
talk about mathematician, physicist. Shoot.
Physicist.
I can't remember.
I think he's a physicist.
Right. Okay.
But that deals with math anyway. So, what's interesting about their conversation is it really was boiled down to like truth and fiction and how we as Americans now are dealing with what's true and what's not. Mm-hmm. And there's a ton of fiction around Epstein, and we both kind of decided to go down the rabbit hole with this guy. And so don't confuse.
And we could keep going. To be honest, we were only able to study this for a little bit, but I think this is going to be number one of a couple possible subsequent
videos,
episodes, because I think I want to keep going down this road a little bit, maybe down the road. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, and what I just wanted to say is that, okay, so for people who don't know, if you've lived under a rock, Epstein was a financial broker, essentially, and he supposedly, nobody knows where he got his fortune. Nobody knows how, so there's a ton of mystery around this guy.
Eric points that out. He's we should be able to have all of this documentation.
Yeah, and we don't.
Who did business with him, what business he did, because there's a lot of paperwork that would be associated with this kind of career.
Well,
and we're not seeing that.
And I think it was before COVID, he got arrested for trafficking. Mm-hmm. Let's just call it that. And what ended up happening, he had a bunch of underage girls that came forward, and he got caught, and everybody knows about Epstein's Island and all this kind of there's just a bunch of crap that this guy did. And you and I are very much against.
Years ago, let's preface this a little bit.
Mhm.
Years ago, he did time. Basically, I want to say it was just 2 minors came forward.
Yeah, he did time for
and there were several others during that case. There were several others during that case.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, geez, hearing some of their stories,
it's disgusting. It's horrific,
crazy. I mean, he had these girls working for him to be networkers to get more young girls to come to his house. Jeez, it's just this whole thing. Anyway,
so he
was
rubbed
convicted
elbows.
on that.
He was convicted on that and barely got
18 months in jail.
Yeah. And then he gets caught again, goes to jail. He's waiting sentencing, or he's waiting a trial, and he supposedly dies in jail. Nobody knows why, how. There's a lot of mystery around it. Now,
dude, the cameras weren't working. The guards didn't check on him. You're just, I mean, we're talking here like
just a bunch of secrecy
everything
around
like
this.
Winds up. It's just boom, 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 boom.
So,
and it's like,
so to get back,
what is going on here?
To get back to the Weinstein interview, what he posits is that when he met Jeffrey Epstein, he felt like a fake rich person, because Weinstein has rubbed elbows with wealthy people. And he was like, they don't talk like this, they don't act like this. He was like, he basically says that if he would, it was like AI's version of a wealthy person. This was what Jeffrey Epstein was.
Right.
And this is so freaky because he claims that he felt like at some point he was like a plant, like he was like acting like he was a rich person when he really wasn't.
Right.
And I mean,
it's because it's all shrouded in shadows. There's so much we don't know. And it's one of those things. I mean, conservatives, it's interesting because the conservatives kind of there's a lot of conspiracy theorists. I mean, and sometimes off the rail conspiracy theorists like
flat earth
lizard people kind of stuff.
Flat earthers, exactly.
Off the rails. That are part of the conservative. They're on the conservative side. Yeah. Right. And so sometimes the conservatives are thrown into this bag with all these other ones, and it's just like conspiracy theorists galore, and it's all over the place, right? But when it's interesting to me because what happens is when no one's told anything and the truth really doesn't make it to the light, you're left with a void of where where conspiracy theories are allowed to fester and grow.
Yeah. And we're also in an era where conspiracy, what was thought of as conspiracy, turns out not to be. So the COVID.
No, don't say the word. It's the virus of unspecified origins. Turns out it was
there was a specified origin.
There was a specified origin, and no one wanted to talk about the specified origin. It's like, anyway.
So this is what Eric was getting to in his interview with Chris, is that because the institutions have destroyed their credibility, nobody believes in anything anymore. And this is where he's like coming up with theories about what Jeffrey Epstein was, because nobody will find out. Right. There's too much mystery surrounding him. There's about Netflix has a documentary, Hulu has a couple of documentaries. There's a bunch of documentaries about them. Excuse me.
JP Morgan just settled out of court for 229 million. I want to say it was 229 million. They just settled out of court and for whatever, I mean, it could be that they had dealings with Jeffrey and they just were like, we want to bury this and we just don't want to have anything to do with this. They're just trying to get, I'm sure there's a lot of basically innocent people that had dealings with Jeffrey Epstein that are just trying to put space in between them and the fact that they had dealings with Jeffrey Epstein. Right.
Oh, so I
don't know for sure, but I can only imagine that would be a huge part of it, is just that there were, and I mean, maybe they were all nefarious. Maybe they all, were doing
where the
horrible things, but I doubt
right?
all of them were.
But that's where
my guess is that they a lot of them just want to make distance between them.
Well, but this is where the conspiracy comes in, right? Because there's so much shrouded mystery behind it.
Yeah.
That even if you were innocent and you had associations with him, you're still going to be considered guilty because you were associated with him, and there's too much mystery associated with him, right?
Yeah.
Like they raided his house and all of his hard drives were gone. It's like, well, who got rid of his hard drives?
He was tipped off. That was weird. That was a weird thing because the Florida police built up enough of a case, and then they went to go raid his house and found nothing. He was tipped off and they got rid of everything. And hard drives were gone. Like, just crazy. And you're just like, what? So was there what is it? An narc? Was there a snitch? Was there somebody in the Florida Police Department dude, it's all just this crazy.
Well, it's a huge rabbit hole, because you could spend your life combing through all this stuff and still not have any answers. It's gonna rank under like who shot JFK. It's going to be one of those
just
things,
years
like
and years later
of speculation. And this is what's wrong with mystery. Like and dishonesty. I think that if people were more honest, then we wouldn't be in this situation as a society. As a society, we are not going to believe any institutions anymore, especially after the virus of unspecified origins. So
and this is part of, I mean, maybe this is why Jordan Peterson resonates with so many people, because people are just so tired of being lied to.
Yeah.
And Jordan's just like,
here's the truth.
Stop lying.
Yeah. Just stop.
Or, tell the truth, or at least don't lie.
Don't lie. Yeah.
And that's one of his rules, and it's just like, we have this society that's kind of gone off the rails in well, you can lie about this, you can lie about that, it's okay. And then pretty soon everybody's lying and no one's telling the truth. And everybody's just like, well, we can't trust any of them.
Yeah.
Anymore.
Well, and that's
part of the red pill, right? That's kind of just this you and I it's so funny because I don't think Eric would consider himself red pilled at all in the way the phrasing is. But when he talks about Jeffrey, it almost sounds like a red pill moment where he's just like, dude, I think this guy's a plant.
Yeah.
Like he's like going through this experience with Jeffrey, and to get to kind of the specifics, he meets with Jeffrey, and
because Jeffrey Epstein was interested in the research he was doing.
Right.
And he meets with him, and he's like, this guy.
He walks in, and first off, he's just like, well, I was doing some currency trading.
It's like, okay.
And you're like, do brokers really talk like that? Do they really like just do
they just say what they were doing? Like,
they mentioned a clip with
Steve Buscemi.
Steve Buscemi. They mentioned a clip with Steve Buscemi where from 30 Rock, I think,
where he shows up and
he walks in with a skateboard, and he's like,
hey, children.
Hello, fellow children.
Yeah.
How do you do, fellow kids?
What?
But anyway, he mentions that was weird, but then everything about the whole setup was all weird. And he says that the table has a American flag draped across it so that he spills his coffee on the flag of his country. And he's got a beauty that's sitting on his knee and he's bouncing her so her boobs are jiggling in front of Eric. And he's just like, it's just this crazy.
It's like what he says it would be what a AI or a child would have written a currency trader as. You know,
and he's like, I've rubbed shoulders with a lot of rich people, and
this isn't how they act
like this. This isn't.
Yeah.
This is, and that's why he's just like, he felt like a fake person.
Well, and if you delve into his history, he grew up poor, so maybe that was his idea of what a rich person would be. Like that's like,
it could be.
That's an infantilized idea of a wealthy person. But Eric's theory about him just being this person. So this is what's really interesting. Eric posits this idea that he might be some government plant in the financial sector who got away with everything that he did because he was a government plant. And he also states that he started doing this in the non-internet age. Went into the internet age and they
couldn't survive.
Keep it a secret anymore.
So a CIA plant, that
government plant of some
kind that started pre-internet, and then was that plant, that continuation of Operation Jeffrey Epstein, whatever
it is, whatever it is,
goes on into the internet age.
And they no longer can keep it a secret.
It starts to fall apart.
Yeah, because secrets can't be kept in the internet age anymore. So the virus of unspecified origins.
We'll see, because we don't.
No, but here's the thing: is that that's why we're getting half truths. So there's probably a ton of truth to the Epstein story. There's probably a ton of truth to the
virus of unspecified origin,
where its origins come from. But because everybody's being secret, and because YouTube's gonna, try to, muzzle
censorship
people,
going on.
So we're getting half truths. We're getting like snippets of truth that is coming out because you can't keep this contained, right? Because the internet age has made it so you can't keep anything contained. We're getting half truths about everything, and it's kind of gross. And that's the crux of the conversation between Chris Williamson and Eric Weinstein, is that it's basically them lamenting this idea that the institutions we used to believe in, we can't believe in anymore.
Yeah. And the fact that just so many things about Jeffrey Epstein just don't add up. And Eric kind of points to the fact that he has an island, but he was probably a 9-figure, 100 million. He was probably worth somewhere in the 100 millions. And he's like, I know I've rubbed shoulders with multi-millionaires that don't own islands.
That don't own islands.
Islands are very, and he points out, islands are very hard to maintain.
Yeah.
And the fact that he had an island, he had all these planes, it was just bizarre that it seemed like he had more than he really had. He didn't have a net worth that should probably have been able to support this.
Yeah.
And his story of meeting him and like how bizarre that whole thing was. And they talk about it being like almost like out of a movie set.
Yeah. Like a script was written to try to impress Eric. And Eric,
right?
The thing about Eric is that he's super smart, and he's also kind of smart when it comes to human nature.
Yeah.
Because a lot of scientists aren't. They don't understand human nature. Like if you understand the science that you're interested in, and then you kind of like, we've talked about this with Oppenheimer. Like maybe Oppenheimer didn't really get women, which is why he had such a all these torrid affairs with women, but he got his science right. So maybe that's what some of the scientists, like a lot of scientists can't really get people. They get the science that they're interested in, and they don't get people. Where I think Eric gets people. And so he's sitting there watching this guy act for him, because he's interested in his research. And he's not the only scientist that this guy ever. Joe Rogan had a scientist on not too long ago that Joe kind of grilled about Jeffrey Epstein, and I forget the scientist's name, but he was like, well, I went on his plane once, he was interested in my research. And see, the thing about scientists is that if you find somebody interested in your research that's got a lot of money, you want to be their friend, because then they're going to fund your research, right? And that's why there's
possibilities there. It could be that, like, if this was an American CIA or
plant or whatever
plant or anything, it could be that they wanted to get some scientists on their blackmail list.
Yeah.
So that they could control some of the things within academia.
Well, and that you're kind of,
that's
so
theory.
weird. That's theory.
It's theory. But it's conspiracy theory.
But it's a
right?
rabbit hole that you go down because of the dishonesty that we've been dealt with for so long.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, what does this mean? What does this mean for society? It feels, and I'm sure everybody kind of feels it after the lockdowns. Like everybody's kind of feeling like something's off. We're not, as a society, it's like a grand depression. It's like we're all depressed because of the situation we find ourselves in, and we all know that the institutions are corrupt and lying to us.
Yeah, it's Richmond, more north of Richmond. It's
yeah.
They don't think, or has it go in the song? They don't think that but I know that you do. Yeah. Like everybody just kind of knows that something's off and something ain't right. And it's specific situations. And I hate using the term red pill,
because of its association
its association with the manosphere and, these conspiracies, like, flat earthers and stuff like that. Yeah. Like there's a wide breadth, but the reason it worked, the red pill analogy kind of works, is because you learn something and it kind of just changes your framework, where you're just like, wait a minute, that doesn't add up. Something's not right here. And then you start looking at these other things and it kind of changes how you look at them, because it's like, well, this institution can't be trusted. And then it's like, okay, well then if that one can't be trusted, what's going on over here?
Yeah.
And it makes you kind of,
well, you question everything.
You start to question everything, and you're like, what? Well, then what is true? And
because you can't even, the guy dies in jail, and you can't even
shrouded in
that.
all this shadow.
Yeah.
The cameras weren't working. The guards didn't check on him. Like one was asleep and one was on the internet shopping,
on the internet.
All these things, and you're just like, why was it the perfect storm? And he had I saw a picture of his room. Mm-hmm. He didn't have somebody else in the room. So he was alone.
He was alone. Okay.
And apparently somebody advised that he should have somebody in the room with him.
Yeah.
But he didn't. And he had extra linens, which was kind of weird.
Yeah.
And all these things start to add up and you're just like, whoa. Wait a minute. Like, and if you think about the amount of money, okay, the amount of money. So we mentioned that JP Morgan just recently settled something to do with the Virgin Islands and his island, etc. They settled, I believe, probably to keep things from getting into court, settled out of court, for like 220 some odd million. That is a freaking lot of money.
Yeah.
Right. So what does, okay, so if that's 229 million, what does 20 million buy you? Maybe a hitman that takes out Jeffrey? Like, Epstein. I don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know. And the fact that it just kind of gets pushed under the rug and no one's really,
well,
it's just,
and he talks about this, Eric talks about this. He's like, any journalist worth their salt would have dived into this.
Yeah.
Like major dived into, because he talks about the tax forms that people,
there should be tax forms. There should be and this kind of this might just go back to how powerful the people he was working with are.
Yeah.
Because a lot of and I was listening to Tim Pool talk about like how Bill Gates was involved. He was somewhat involved, but he had an affair and he admitted to the affair with somebody that was kind of through something to do with Jeffrey Epstein, but she was of age. And so there was no criminal act.
It was kind of swept under the rug.
Yeah. There wasn't really a criminal act. It probably ended his marriage, but it wasn't really anything that, that was like with a minor or anything like that. And it could just be one of those things where he fessed up to that really fast to try to just, okay, well, this happened, but now I have to distance myself
from this,
from the whole situation.
Well, okay. So if you've got all these people, the Clintons, the Gates, all these people that are got a lot of money, like Bill Gates is worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
If you've got all these people that have the money, you could find a way to keep all of this quiet. Now, in the internet age, and this is Eric's theory, is that it's hard to keep things quiet in the internet age, right? So if you've got something nefarious and you got skeletons in your closet and that kind of thing, it's going to come out because it's somewhere online or somebody's going to dig it or something like that is going to happen. And so maybe Gates stopped it before it got really, like, before they found out the real truths. And that's
who knows? Maybe that is the truth. Maybe it was just this affair with an of age person.
But see, that's the problem. We don't know. So, and maybe it's not our business because he is a person. So maybe he shouldn't, maybe we don't need to dig into it. But when it has to do with politicians and stuff like that, we kind of need to know.
That's the thing is like, and this goes back to the Richmond, north of Richmond. It's like the filthy rich. And that's actually the Netflix docuseries on Jeffrey Epstein. It's like filthy rich. We're talking about the rich getting away with crap.
Yeah. Nobody should be above the law.
They shouldn't be above the law. Right. Yeah. But I mean, you have all this money and this power and you pay people off and all these things. It's just that's not okay. Like it's not okay that we have this elite class that can get away with this crap.
Well, that rule over us. right?
Yeah.
They rule over us. They make
ruling
decisions
class
that are causing us problems. Like inflation is a monster right now. I don't, hopefully the audiences on knows this, because if you go to a supermarket now, you are buying stuff that cost half as much 4 years ago. So, and this is directly caused by politicians and to a certain extent scientists, because of what Fauci ended up suggesting, and that and both administrations kind of bowed down to him and said, hey, let's close things up and make Americans' lives worse in some capacity. And that's what's happened.
Yeah.
My dollar doesn't go nearly as far as it used to. And so we see all this, and then we see stuff like the Epstein stuff, and we go and we're putting two and two together. Now, causation doesn't equal, correlation doesn't equal causation, or whatever the term is. But the point is that if there's this much, something's got to be true, right? If there's there's no truth to the flat earth thing. So what is the truth? And we don't know what it is, because we got all these liars, journalists that are liars. If you consider yourself a journalist nowadays, you're probably a liar. You probably lie a lot.
The thing with the flat earth thing is, what happens is when you see lies and deception so much throughout
your society,
throughout our society, throughout what the elites are telling us, then you're able to dig into some of these kind of crazy, bizarre things. And a lot of times I almost feel like it's understandable. Like I get it. The flat earth thing is just that, okay, well, we've been lied to so long for so much about many things.
I'm going to go believe this thing that's so ludicrous.
Why not believe
there?
Why not believe this out of the world crazy thing?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and not that I'm like defending flat earthers, but at the same time, you're just kind of like, well, shoot, why not? Why not believe all this,
because
crazy off the wall
because the
crap?
Truth is so,
dude, we're being lied to left and right.
Yeah.
The so many full of holes crap with Epstein and with virus of unspecified origins. You're just like, okay, well then what should I believe? I don't know. Right? I think it's the flat earth thing. Just it's kind of a canary in the coal mine of telling us where we're at.
Yeah.
Where we are when it comes to believing our institutions and that. Oh, Eric does talk about that. He talks about the fact that we went from being able to believe our institutions, the CDC, the WHO, the FBI,
the CIA,
all these institutions that we should be able to believe, that we can't believe anymore at all. And that, it's the red pill moment of America. Jeffrey Epstein, I think.
Well, because okay, so he offed himself before COVID, right?
Shoot, when was that? That he 19 August 10th of 19.
So right before COVID. COVID happens March 2020.
March 2020.
So basically, we have a conspiracy that is being kind of raveled out. Then we get another thing that happens that has a bunch of mystery around it.
Yeah.
And then another thing. And it's just the spiral of all these things that have a bunch of mystery around them, but we're getting half truths. And so what's happened is we've created a society of people that don't believe anything. I don't know about you, but for me, I never used to. Conspiracy theories were always like, okay, whatever, occasionally our mother would get into her conspiracy
mom
theory
would
mode.
get into some conspiracy theories
so
and it'd just be kind of like, okay, whatever,
okay, mom.
Sure.
Okay, mom, sure. And I'm not one of those that goes into that, the anti-vaxxers. I was never kind of like on board with the anti-vaxxers. I was kind of like, oh, okay, well, maybe, but now, because of
I was never really big into the conspiracy theories around 9/11. I was never really big into this conspiracy theories, but around now Pearl Harbor.
Conspiracy theory has now become truth, or in some cases. So people are taking this and going, okay, some cases where there's a conspiracy theory here that it has come to light and it is actually true. Well, then what about this conspiracy theory over here?
Yes. Yeah. And I think that's why I say, like, Epstein might have been the red pill moment for America. Well, I think I think the virus of unspecified origins was kind of a red pill moment. I think we can say COVID America.
Now, but I don't know.
I don't know.
I have no idea.
I don't want anything. Yeah. Anyway, so virus of unspecified origins that may have been a red pill moment where, and this I've noticed this in myself, where you see all these holes and then the media try to like play it off and kind of bury it. Mm-hmm. For me, it was the Las Vegas shootings. That was the big one for me.
Which happened right before COVID again.
Right before. It was
about a year. It was about a year before.
So
there's a bunch of,
it was this big deal. It was crazy big deal. And then all of a sudden, crickets, silence. Nobody knows. Well, and it just like kind of went away.
And Eric talks about this. He talks about the media trying to throw out the Epstein story.
Yeah.
Even though people, if you go online, people are like,
people are still talking about it.
People are still talking about it.
They try to play it off. This happened years ago. It's all kind of, that's what Eric says. He's like,
so legacy media, mainstream media, that's what they're doing. And that's why CNN has one of the lowest viewing ratings right now, to the point where they are constantly going through CEOs because nobody can get it back on its feet.
Yeah, back on
track because nobody believes
everybody's
it
just
anymore.
Like, we don't
Fox News is taking it anymore. Fox News is taking a hit too because nobody believes them anymore. Nobody believes it anymore because we are constantly fed this ongoing bullshit that and everybody's kind of seeing it now. And that's you and I've talked about the Richmond, north of Richmond. The song is the biggest song in the country, and no mainstream media wants to do anything, has anything to do with it.
Yeah.
They don't talk about it. It's the same thing with the Sound of Freedom. Sound of Freedom is at $192 million. It is in theaters.
It's not in theaters now. It's out.
Well, it's out of theaters, but I think some theaters are still playing it.
Oh, really?
Jeez. But it's take, I think it's ending take somewhere is in between 80 and 90, 180 and 90 million, 189 million. And nobody wants to talk about it. No mainstream media wants to talk about it. It's all stuff online. Everybody who's talking about it is talking about it online. It's like the institution of the mainstream media, mainstream journalism is taking a nosedive because nobody can believe them anymore.
Yeah.
Because they've taken this movie and that song and said, no, we don't want people to like these. We don't want people to see these. We don't want people to hear these. And they're doing it anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, Joe Rogan just had Oliver Anthony, the singer of Richmond, North of Richmond, on his podcast,
and Jordan Peterson.
And Jordan Peterson's had him, and so this is alternative media.
Yeah,
and
it's all
the biggest song of the country.
And isn't it crazy that it just? And he's like, I had no idea that this was gonna pan out like this, but I just made the song, and we didn't even know it was gonna, but it blew the heck up, and everybody, and people are relating to it, and like realizing that okay, yeah, this is a problem. We've got this ruling class that gets away with all this crap.
Yeah.
And we're sick of it. We're sick of it. Yeah. And I think the fact that he came on Rogan, I was just like, man,
well, that
guy's all over the place.
Yeah. Well, it's the biggest podcast in the world right now. Rogan's podcast, like everybody. So all the arbiters of media, it's all shifted, right?
Yeah.
So Stern was the biggest thing on radio. Well, he was also kind of controlled by radio, even though he was kind of a maverick. He kind of, changed the radio landscape. But then radio died. Now podcasting is the thing. And Joe Rogan's the biggest podcaster in the world. The point is that original media is dying, and like print media is dead. Like everybody would agree that print media is gone. You don't read a newspaper or magazine anymore. You just don't. Everything you read, it's online, it's on your phone. And so all these people, the arbiters of truth, are being exposed for not being truthful through alternative media. And so the old media is dying. And it's like the last gasps of an old media, of an old institution. And I don't know if it, because nobody can decipher between truth and fiction anymore. I don't know if the internet is really, I think it's necessary, but I don't know if it's the better place. But who knows? Maybe
we don't know.
Maybe when Walter Cronkite was doing his thing back in the day, maybe he wasn't telling the truth, and we were just getting what the arbiters of truth decided we needed.
What we got to know, what you get to know. So the ruling class once again,
the ruling class
deciding what we the people, the little guys, get to hear, and
it's interesting. It's interesting to see, and the fact that Weinstein put it so I don't know, succinctly, maybe.
Yeah,
is
very elegantly. He very well kind of puts it together, and I wanted to just point out, like, if Eric kept talking about it, I think he just talks about it in passing. I don't think it's like a something that he dwells on a lot. But it could be one of those things where they could even shut him up by saying, well, because he was there at the time, he should be indicted for the fact that he maybe partook in
whatever evil Epstein was doing. Well, he's already been discredited. He talks about this in the interview. Him, his brother Harris, he talks about all these Peterson. They've all been said to be discredited.
Yeah,
that's what they're trying to do.
They're all discredited. Yeah, and they're trying to take Jordan Peterson's license
in Canada. And and he's in the middle of all that right now. He's like dealing with their.
So interesting.
They're trying to take him out. It's
so crazy.
And it's hard not to see like the workings of the evil elite. It's funny because in like Conspiracy Theory, the movie it's the 20 years old with or over 20 years with
Mel Gibson.
Julia Roberts. There's a line in it where he goes, "They," and she's like, "Who?" He's like, they, them, the people that control control
Yeah.
the world or whatever. And
Yeah.
he couldn't see. So he knew it was something, but he couldn't really say what they were. Right. And we're all feeling the same way right now.
It's exactly when
say
you've
who
got
it
the
is.
president of the United States saying, they wanted me to say this thing or something to that effect.
It's they, them. It's they.
Yeah,
it's somebody
them.
out there. Who's them?
Wait a minute. The president is being ran by somebody that was not elected. That's telling him what to say and do. And what the hell?
We can see it in front of our eyes, and we're going. So everybody's kind of like in this boat. It's like this slowly sinking boat that we're all in. We're all like in this boat, and we can all see it sinking, but we don't know what to do about it. Like, what do we do about it? Right? It's like we can see the conspiracy.
Exactly.
We can see the lies. I mean, they're still trying to spin his withdrawal from Afghanistan as this great thing, and it's not.
Yeah.
Everybody knows it's not. Everybody knew that was botched, that was done poorly, and we're all mad that nobody's in trouble for it. I want to see people burned. I want to see whoever was in charge of that. I want to see them out. They need to be disciplined. They need to be shamed. They need to be publicly shamed. The same thing goes for the people who did the lockdowns. The people who were in charge of all of that. We should be getting them out and going, well, this isn't happening again.
Yeah,
we're not doing this again. And I don't know.
Once again, whose heads are rolling after and we go off on a rail, but coming back to the Jeffrey Epstein, whose heads are rolling from the Jeffrey Epstein stuff?
Debacle. Nothing.
Right?
Nobody's in charge. It's like swept under the rug.
He dies in jail. It's all good. Deal.
And it's like there's tons of memes about it. Everybody knows that it's a fake, but it's like, what do we do about it? Even somebody as smart as Eric Weinstein can't figure out who to put in charge of figuring this out.
How do we do this?
How do we get out of this?
And we kind of mentioned, but like going down this rabbit hole, you're just like, where does this end? Because I didn't know anything about, I was just kind of watching the documentary and I was watching the documentary on Netflix, and it talks about this detective that was the head detective on his case. And I was like,
case in the early 2000s.
And I just looked this guy up randomly and just find out that he's dead. And I'm like, wait a minute. And I should pull up his name. But yeah, he
was a lead investigator in the early case against Jeffrey Epstein in Florida. And it was in the early 2000s, I believe, like 2006, 2005.
Joe Recarey.
And he's dead.
Joseph Recarey. But he died at age 50, and they cite it as let's see. I'll see if I can get the brief illness. After a brief illness, and passes away.
Wow.
That's it. That's all we know. That's it. Brief illness, and he's gone. So
I think that's why. I think that might be why. Have you noticed this uptick in mystery podcasts?
Oh, like cold cases and stuff.
Yeah,
is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah. My wife listens to tons of them, and it's almost like these are solved mystery, or maybe a lot of them are unsolved, but it's almost like we hunger for the solving of a mystery. And so we're seeking out.
Probably because we aren't getting it.
We aren't getting it.
Right?
Now.
We're not getting it. Was the Vegas shooting solved?
No, it wasn't.
No,
nobody knows why
it's like, oh wait, all these holes are showing up in the story. Boom, out of media, no one's talking about it.
Yeah,
it's like
same
Epstein.
thing.
Is it solved?
No,
not even close. Like all these things,
the origins of the unspecified virus.
Yeah,
is it solved?
And that shut down the world. And
everybody's like,
rolling.
Oh, hey,
is this
nothing to see here? Nothing to see here.
Yeah, nothing to see here.
You guys don't need to. You guys don't need to know. You little people don't need to know about this.
Yeah,
it's so. It's become this norm. You know, we should have a term for it by now. Like we should. It's so much and so often. We should have a term for it. I don't know if it's like,
we should make up a term.
We can make up a term
for when something happens, it hits the media and then it doesn't get solved and then it just goes away.
And goes away. Yeah. It's like not my job.
Would it be a bait and switch
I don't know. It's like, this isn't my job. I'm not supposed to find out if this actually happened or what, this is just a mystery wrapped in an enigma. It's like, well, like, are we ever going to get answers? Probably not. It'll be, we've got more conspiracy theories probably in the last 5 or 6 years than we've ever had.
There's so many of those red pill moments where people are just like, wait a minute, this is not adding up. If this is not adding up, why shouldn't
this
flat Earth not add up? Right? Like, why does a round Earth
now you're going to be called a flat earther?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, they'll come after me, but like, why should 9/11 not add up? Why should, or why should it add up, but none of this other stuff adds up? Right?
Yeah.
Like, what things, it's like almost like a domino effect. Now, the thing is I am sure that there's a lot of somebody sees, okay, this happened and it is not adding up, therefore nothing else adds up. But a lot of those things probably just happened how they told us it happened, right? Like a lot of those things. But
now people,
it's all shrouded in mystery.
Now people are just making shit up,
and it gets swept under the rug.
Yeah.
And they say nothing to see here. Now you think there's something to see behind every curtain.
Yeah.
If they're like, nah, nothing to see here. Now we're like, nah, curtain,
the moon landing.
There's something to see.
Yeah, like the moon landing, the theory that the moon landing never happened, that's only probably 10, 15, 20 years old. That people's just recently started talking about that in the last 20 years. It was accepted science for the 40 years leading up to it.
And that's what I'm saying. It's like we want to be careful to go from Vegas shootings to no, we did not land on the moon. But that's kind of human nature where we're kind of just like, wait a minute, this doesn't add up. Therefore, why should I just take your word for it? Now that all the organizations, and this is, I think Eric is a scientist.
Yeah.
And I think he hates that this is happening because he feels like we should be able to have faith in our institutions.
Yeah.
Right. And I agree. I feel like we should be able to have faith in our institutions.
Yeah.
But the Richmond, north of Richmond have been running unfettered for so long. I feel like it just becomes part of their nature that they just lie to the people. They'll be fine. And it just becomes the norm, right? Yeah. Which is kind of why I'm on board when it's like, no, we need maybe we just need all of them to
let them burn down.
Let it all, drain the swamp. Drain the swamp.
Yeah. Or do
right. Even though
or do
even though Trump was involved
in the swamp in some capacity.
so
it's almost like the end of Fight Club when all the buildings are blowing up, and it's like he started a new Armageddon. It's like maybe we could just do that. Maybe just let that happen. So, and I don't, that's where Weinstein, Eric's, he's in a conundrum himself, because he actually says this. He says, we don't want to get rid of the institutions because these institutions have been good to us for so long. We have it really good. But he's also like, but we can't trust the institutions. They've corrupted themselves.
Didn't he even say a red pill moment for for the Second Amendment?
Yes, yeah, he did, because
that blew my mind.
Yeah.
Boom.
Okay.
Just
so in the interview, he goes, I was for gun control right up until defund the police. Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were.
Oh, well, and he's been a lefty his whole life.
Yeah, his whole life.
Brett and Eric have been lefties their whole life.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're sitting here going,
whoa, wait. Defund the police? Like, what does that mean for the little?
We need.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Yeah. So
and then he's just like,
defund the police? Are you kidding me?
Gun sales actually went up when that was happening. Gun sales went up.
During the whole defund the police stuff?
Defund the police, yeah.
Yeah.
Gun sales went up. People were like, oh, so I'm not going to have a cop. When I call 911, I'm not going to have a cop show up to my door. What do I do? Oh, yeah. I better protect myself.
I better be able to protect myself. And that was Eric's big thing. He was like, he felt like that protection should be able to be outsourced. But then when he sits there and he sees a nation start talking about
defunding the outsourcement,
defunding that outsource, and he's just like, well, there it is.
I better go buy a gun.
Second Amendment. Like, I mean, sorry, it's just, there it is. What a great interview. That was that was kind of crazy.
Yeah. Any final thoughts, brother?
I think there should be future episodes about Jeffrey Epstein. I think it's a rabbit by no means covered.
It's a rabbit hole that I'm not sure I want to go down, because I was watching parts of this documentary where it's little girls that I have that are in the same,
that are in your age.
Yeah. I have age group, and I couldn't handle it. I didn't finish it was
the documentary, and
it was like Dateline or something, and they had like 3 episodes, and I was like, this is one of the shorter ones, and so I started it, and these are they sound young. They're playing their tapes, their interviews with the police, and they sound young, and I'm just like going, this is gross. This is so gross. So it's not a rabbit hole that I really want to dive into. I don't know about you.
I hear you.
It's almost too close to home. That's what was so rough about The Sound of Freedom. I mean,
I don't know why this one affects me less, but Sound of Freedom, when I was going down the rabbit hole after watching Sound of Freedom, I kind of went down the rabbit hole of child trafficking and stuff. And it really was dark and depressing. And but I guess for some weird reason, it's the Epstein story, maybe because I want to see that, and it could be the Richmond, north of Richmond part of where we're at, where I'm like, come on, guys, we probably need to see these people burn. Like we probably need to see it all those rich elites that it's a weird conundrum, because being conservative, I don't want to eat the rich. That's not that's not part of some of these people
you aspire
who had
that
came from nothing, and built their fortunes. I'm
Which is-
just like,
which is the
dude,
first
more power to you. Like,
which is the
that
first
is
part of Epstein's life, right?
well, he was teaching in college without a college degree.
Yeah. How the hell does that happen?
He falsified somehow. He managed to falsify that so that he was teaching when he really shouldn't have been. And that was way back when.
Yeah.
So
That
that
was
was
like 1990s. It was in the 90s.
no, it would have been before then. That was probably 70s.
Oh, really?
70s, maybe 80s.
Well, but the thing that so you're right. Like we want to see the end of this stuff, right? But he came from nothing and he built something, and then he might have been a sociopath to begin with. Like, you don't go down that rabbit hole without being some kind of psychologically deranged person.
Right.
So,
well, I mean,
so money just probably,
girls, like molestation and of minors and stuff. I mean, this guy was a true nutcase, a true nutbag. But just because there are elites that are nefarious doesn't. I'm just
make
saying
all of them nefarious.
It doesn't make all rich people evil.
Yeah.
So it's tough to
it's
tough
like
to,
the same
to
thing.
toe that line.
Yeah, it's like the same thing with the manosphere. Just because a woman is assaulted by a straight man doesn't mean that every straight man in the world is evil.
Is a
so it's
rapist.
Like,
yeah.
So it's the same concept. So there are good wealthy people. Just because they have money does not mean that that they're bad. They were bad to begin with. I would argue that Epstein was probably a bad dude from the very start. He was probably a sociopath. And then what it does is money just makes it easier to be that and to indulge the dark side of your psyche.
Yeah. That narcissism.
Well, and that's why the Richmond, north of Richmond, maybe part of going into politics, maybe you have an ideal, you want to make the world a better place. And then as soon as money starts rolling in and you start getting, and you like, and then I got to lie here and lie there to keep this position.
Yeah.
And maybe it just kind of slowly corrupts
the incentives. I think it was Russell Brand that was saying something about that the incentives are all wrong, where we're incentivizing
bad behavior.
Yes. Where I think we're incentivizing bad behavior, and that's probably why we're in the mess that we're in, where we're at, is because of those incentivizations. Yeah.
Well, see, I think a millionaire in the 1950s was probably way different than a millionaire now, like because of moral standard. I think it goes back to a moral standard that we all kept, right? So if you're a millionaire in the 1950s,
I don't know.
You're probably
how long
married.
ago. I don't know how long ago The Millionaire Next Door was written. It was probably written early 2000s.
Yeah.
But the book Millionaire Next Door, I forget the guy's name.
Hogan. I think his last name's Hogan. Chuck Hogan,
but
or something like that.
He kind of talks to so many millionaires, and these are millionaires that are
working class,
worth like 10 million.
Yeah.
Working class, like these are all working
yeah.
class millionaires.
They probably own a small business or something like that. They're not
small business,
like Bezos.
Right?
They're not like
they were throwing a party for all the millionaires to come to, and they all came, and they had champagne and caviar, and none of them would touch any of it because they were all working class millionaires, and they thought they were going to be like, they had an idea
like
of what millionaire would look like, and it was all wrong.
Yeah.
And so most of America's millionaires are the
The working class
literally,
millionaire.
as the book points out, the millionaire next door, that have nothing to do with a freaking Epstein Island or any of that crap, right? They live their lives.
There's got to be a distinction between the two. So there's got to be the distinction between the maybe it's the billionaires. Maybe when you get to the billionaires like section of life, where money means nothing.
I don't know. I mean,
mean nothing.
Just because Elon Musk is a billionaire, doesn't mean that I should be able to consume him and his wealth. From all that I understand, he is self-made, right? And he went from basically nothing to something, off of a lot of different things, but just like his hard work and his ingenuity and everything. But that to me does become kind of a slippery slope, because it's like, well, we have to, these people that are the wealthy, we should just take their money. And
I don't think that's the answer.
It isn't. Yeah. I don't see that being, but
I can see that happening, because this is what happened with the French Revolution. The elites were so bad to the poor, that it became a chaotic revolution.
They were just rose killing up and consumed them, and then it became a bloodbath. It became people just killing dying left and right.
Yeah. They got rid of it was like the knight that didn't have dragons to slay anymore, and so he's out in the field chopping down daisies and stuff like that. It's like they got rid of the elites that were causing their lives to be horrible, and then they started killing innocent people, and then it kept feeding itself. It was like the guillotine was like this monster that needed to consume.
Look at communism. Look at the gulags.
Yeah, that's the same thing.
Look at the people that they loaded up that were farmers, that were successful farmers, and they loaded them all up and sent them to the gulags, and then 6 million Ukrainians starved to death.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we don't know the answers, and we're not going to solve it here, but
well, the interview is interesting. Yeah. That interview is very interesting. Audience, if you get a chance to go check out Chris Williamson's Modern Wisdom podcast with Eric Weinstein. He's a very interesting person and has a lot of ideas. I want to leave on this. I think, like, he kept saying somebody needs to do this. Somebody needs to do that. We need to get these kind of people in there. I think he needs to be that person.
Yeah, him and Chris and
the people that
Joe Rogan
that are pointing this out. The people
Jordan Peterson and Oliver Anthony.
Yeah,
I mean,
the people that are pointing this out also need to be the leaders to drive it. Like you and I, we're just small fries. It's like the people that are out there.
Hey,
like,
we're part of the people too.
We're part of the people. Yeah.
I mean,
maybe it's up to us. Maybe it's up to, well, and it goes back to that Jordan Peterson quote. If we all individually do well, then we collectively flourish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Stop lying. Tell the truth. Maybe that's the start. Maybe we just need more truth. On that, everybody, if you get a chance, check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We are on Instagram. We are on Twitter. And our
Brothers V Random.
And our emails in the show notes. Everyone, thank you for joining us. Just stop lying. Maybe that's the answer for all of us. Anyway, thanks for that discussion, brother. And keep reading, keep listening, keep watching, learn more. We'll talk to you later.
See ya.